of them, I suppose, from expats that used to live here, that moved for various reasons, to let the world know that our state gives us a deaf ear when we tell them that there is a minority of us still here who refuse to acclimatize to this substandard of life expectancy.
About the fact that if white people get together, it's racist, and if white people get together, they're far right wing, and you are wrong.
You don't know just how lucky you are. You don't know just how lucky you are that people can still tolerate living in shacks and go and work for white people in beautiful homes and not kill those white people.
With what Desmond Tutu said, firstly, at all, and I don't think we can prescribe to tell people what they can and cannot march for. People become involved in projects and march for things that are important to them. There are people marching 6 marches per day in this country, violent ones. And then it is very easy to make an insert, like the one that was played before the show, where the fact that there is white poverty is completely denied, ignored. I, in fact, don't think that most of the people here know that there are white squatter camps.
So what?
No, part of the Red October was had to do with affirmative action, broad-based black economic empowerment. These are discriminatory laws. There are 1 million people, white people, left in the job market in South Africa. So even if you took every single one of their jobs, if you took every single white job away from them and gave all of those 1 million jobs to a black person, then you will just have 1 million more white people that are poor.
But no one's asking for 1 million jobs to be taken away from white
It is
people.
happening. It is, in fact, happening.
But no one's asking for it.
It seems to me the height of self-indulgence for white people to go on and on about affirmative action in the face of so many very real and pressing national problems. And I think part of what's going on with the affirmative action kind of hang-up that white people have is it's the one area since, democracy came where white people were forced to not be allowed to state their case and to win that particular fight. And so part of how racism works is that we view white people's pain as more important than black people's pain, right?
Sinette?
No, that's not true at all. You view us as thinking that our problems are more important, and then we think that you think that your problems are more important. And that's the problem that we have. And can I finish, please? Because you and I should have coffee and then you can sort out your personal issues with me. I'm not denying that there are hectic problems in this country that need to be addressed. But we can also not deny the fact that very many of these problems are service delivery, maintenance problems due to cadre deployment, affirmative action. Because people have been put into positions that they are not qualified to do, and the country is falling apart.
Exactly. When we talk about these things, it always seems to me that the reality of living in South Africa passes some people by, like Sunette. And you can throw out certain statistics, like 18% of white people live in so-called squatter camp, whatever.
Have you ever been to a white squatter camp? Yeah.
If you actually follow statistics that are scientifically taken, then you see, for example, that after 1 year of graduation, a white graduate is about 10 times as likely to have gotten a job than a black graduate. Why is that?
Absolutely. But there is the reality of hundreds, if not thousands, of white farmers being killed on their farms. We can't ignore it.
If you're a black person living in Khayelitsha, your life is far more at risk than any white person living anywhere. Exactly. Me as a middle-class white person driving in a car, the threat to my existence for crime is far, far less than if you are a poor and black person because of the way in which apartheid structured our society.
In terms of the insert that you've given and so on, you talk about racism against black people. You also talk about white farmers being killed. Whilst there's no mention that the second largest population group in this country, not being white, them being colored, is so neglected. We've got the highest incarceration rate. So we are so caught up between a white, black debate and so on. And this ideal, the zebra debate, this ideal where we want to grow to in terms of a rainbow nation is, so to say, denied because we are leaving behind the people who are originally in this country.
Let me ask you this. When the racial categorizations are made in this country under, for example, black economic empowerment, employment equity, colored people fall under black people. Why do you feel the need? No. Yes, let me finish my point and then you can respond. Why you feel you must hold on to that identity and why it then leads to the exclusion that you're talking about?
There can be many reasons, but the sole reason is we are a social construct in this country. Secondly, constitutionally, we have the right to associate us with whomever we want to. Yes. We are coloreds. There's nobody representing us here. I'm just asking for fairness. I'm saying if we are really serious about speaking about racism, let us give each other a fair chance. Let us say there must be a black person, there must be a colored person, a white person, an Indian person. But you can't say let's talk seriously about racism, but you exclude us.
All right. People feel the same way as colored people, that they are excluded, that they are a separate group and should be dealt with separately?
Well, I don't know. I'm not here as an Indian person. I'm here as a black South African woman. The problem, I think, is that in the first few years of our democracy, the ANC had a discussion which they called the national question about how it deals with the question of race. But as time went by, after the Mandela presidency, the ANC abandoned that because there were other priorities in the country, and rightly so. And what you then had is people retreating into their lagers. So what you have is people like Sunette and my black brother across there who believe that they are different. And there is no intelligent debate in this country other than what we're doing now on how to deal with these issues and how to help people like this to see that their problems are no different from everybody else's problems. And that when you talk about squatter camps in this country, it's more to do with class rather than a few people, that feel that they need to be treated differently and that their problems need to be treated differently.
All right. Why are we not in this together?
I think the defining chord that runs through South African identity is the sense of exclusion. If you're poor and black, you feel excluded. If you're white and your ancestors were colonialists, you feel excluded. If you're multiracial, if you're colored, and your ancestors were slaves and colonialists, you feel excluded. Everybody in this country feels like they're being pushed out of the box of South Africanness. Our country was built on 350 years of systemic violence. Systemic violence, misogyny, and the exclusion of people. When we start to deal with the emotional, psychological, and spiritual baggage of that, then we'll start to form a country, we'll start to form a nation. But that is real, deep, inner, emotional, loving work. We need to start speaking from a place of love for self, from a place of love for our children, from a place of wanting this society to be what we imagine it to be in our minds, in our dreams. We've got to want something better than what we have now, and want it more than we want to be right.
I wonder whether we're willing to cede our I-ism, our colorism, our Indianism, our blackism, our whiteism, our Africanism, in the interest of an African identity, which is something that I think is far more compelling than the kind of silos that we are trying to construct. I think that there's no getting away from the fact that the project of apartheid was very linked with white capital expansion. I think it would be more useful to frame our conversation around rather affirmative action, corrective action, because what are we doing? We are correcting what has gone wrong. Reconciliation is not just about, I'm so sorry, I love you, you love me. No.
All right, Sunette. Embracing your African identity. Please speak to that first before you make the other point.
Yes, absolutely. We started this conversation with regards to the Rainbow Nation. There cannot be a rainbow if we do not embrace the fact that we are several different cultures, we speak different languages, we have different traditions, and that was the plan, is for each of those to be preserved so that together it will be a really nice picture. But it all just became one big grey mess, and majority takes everything. And you cannot deny that. You cannot deny the fact that tribalism is alive and well, and I actually think it's a good thing. I mean, Zulu people they own 37% of Natal in the Ingonyama Trust, and nobody knows that the Zulus have an entire homeland in the brand new South Africa. But let them have it if they want, but then give it to us as well.
I want to stay with this point about the rainbow and everybody having their own piece. And maybe you want to speak to that because you want to raise the issue of the Khoi.
Yeah, I just want to start by saying a question. Did the Rainbow Nation fail? It was never successful because it was never a reality. You see, since Codesa, this was a black and white talk. You've sidelined us.
So are you saying that there were no coloured people, no Khoi people around the table at Codesa?
We are not included. We are not even like it's here.
They were there.
You have seats. You have seats for whites and blacks.
Sir, could we stick with the topic, please? At Codesa, there were coloured people, there were people of Khoi descent.
No, this is not a rainbow nation. We are the rainbow nation, the ones who are being pushed aside. The rest is a zebra nation.
I want to go into our workplaces because we've talked about the insert specifically looked at your overt racism. But we're working in the same environments, right? We're all in the same offices. How are we interacting?
Pretty negatively, unfortunately. I mean, after 20 years, one would have hoped there would have been more progress in terms of integration. You know, if I look back 20 years when we first started doing this work, there was definitely far more overt racism. I find it's now a far more covert thing. It's as if we can't talk about race, especially as white people. And until we have this discussion, especially in the workplace, until we negotiate and talk to each other, we're never going to build unity. This is our 20th year of democracy, and we're still hearing about me and my red October movement, and me and my little coloured thing. Why can't we be united? But we need to educate each other.
But isn't what's in it saying is that we need... She's talking about the rainbow, but she's saying everybody in there needs to have their own space and their own space.
We have space. We have benefits still today.